Well, now to the government's latest plan to, quote-unquote, solve the migrant crisis.
And asylum seekers are to be housed in newly built council homes as part of the push to end the use of migrant hotels.
Well, up to 200 local authorities are said to be keen on the scheme. Last year, 1.33 million people were on the waiting list for social housing in England. That's the highest number since 2014.
Well, we're joined by Reform MP Lee Anderson. Lee Anderson, welcome to the programme. Look, Lee, so more council houses, but it sounds like they're going to asylum seekers.
Yeah, well, Nana, hello, Nana, Happy New Year. And
Happy New Year.
In Ashfield alone, we've got about 7,000 people on the council house waiting list. It's been like that for many, many years. And to suggest that asylum seekers, and let's be honest, a lot of these aren't genuine asylum seekers, they're illegal migrants crossing the channel and getting loads and loads of freebies in our country. To suggest, though, that these are going to go to the top of the queue above the residents, the born and bred Ashfield residents in my constituency, is absolutely disgusting. They should not be given any form of social housing until every single person on the council house waiting list in every constituency in the country has a choice of housing. It is that simple.
I mean, it does seem extraordinary that the government almost wants to sell this as a win. Say, look, we've closed down the asylum hotels. They've got this pledged. By the end of the Parliament, there will be no asylum hotels. I can readily believe them. There may well not be. But my goodness me, do they think it's a win if they end up in council houses instead?
You're quite right, Tom. You're quite right. And when they talk about smashing the business model, these idiots in Parliament, this actually adds to the business model, because the people smugglers will say, have no fear. Once you've been in your 4-star hotel, 3 square meals a day, Wi-Fi and customer complaints form, have no fear, because you would then go straight to the top of the local council house waiting list. It's another part of the pull factor for the migrants crossing the channel. It's disgusting.
But I thought that the allocation of council houses was determined by the council. So the council, surely the councils can prioritise. I mean, I don't think migrants should be getting council houses at all. I think we need to stop them from coming in the first place. But we are where we are. So I thought councils made the decision as to who would be prioritised for the homes.
Well, it goes on. Unfortunately, these days, social housing, Nana, whether you agree with me or not, it goes on need rather than suitability. And they will look at some of these illegal migrants or so-called asylum seekers here. Many of them won't be working. If they are working, they'll be on low pay. So they sort of get bumped to the top of the social housing list, when normal, decent, hard-working young people who've done the right thing, their parents have probably done the right thing, the grandparents probably fought in the war for this country, they've got absolutely no chance again the council house, again that leg up what you need when you're a young person in this country, especially when rents are so high.
But that is the point, because this absolutely takes the biscuit. I mean, the amount of money that people who are renting or trying to get on the housing ladder, or who have just got on the housing ladder, naming no Tom Harwoods, is absolutely infuriating. On my way into work, I pass so many different areas of council and social housing that are in much more desirable locations than I live. And I know I'm not only paying for my house, I'm paying for all of those too. And so many of them are going to relatively recent arrivals in this country.
It's disgraceful.
Well, you're quite right, Tom. I mean, we see some of the migrants living in London, in parts of London, which, quite frankly, as an MP, I get my housing paid for in London, by the way. But on an MP's wage, which is pretty good, I wouldn't be able to afford to live in certain parts of London where people not born in this country coming over on a boat or wherever, they come straight out of the hotel and put into social housing. And quite frankly, I couldn't afford it, and none of my residents in Ashfield could afford to live in these certain parts of London. It's unfair on the British public. And once again, it's this government and the government previously putting migrants above the British people. It's disgusting.
This interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN and their New Year deal. New Year, new VPN. And a huge saving of up to 80% if you act now. You're busy planning how to get in shape, but the hackers are planning how to get into your accounts. ExpressVPN locks down your connection so you can start the year protecting your data. This offer ends on the 7th of January, so scan the QR code or click the link in the description now.
The government's latest plan to supposedly solve the migrant crisis, and it's this. Asylum seekers are to be housed in freshly built, completely free council homes as part of the push to end the use of migrant hotels. Now, up to 200 local authorities are said to be keen on the scheme, and 5 are already applying for a pilot. Now, a reminder that last year, 1.33 million Brits were on a waiting list for social housing in England alone, and that's the highest number since 2014. Well, I'm joined in the studio by GB News' chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster, and also by our senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson. Welcome to the show, both of you. Catherine Forster, I'm going to start with you. I honestly think on New Year's Eve, this is the late contender for the most boneheaded political idea of the year. Just when you think you've heard them all, the notion that if you come to Britain on a dinghy, if you come here as an illegal immigrant, if you come here having never paid a single dime, single penny into the British pot in your entire life, the notion that 200 councils, that you should be given a free council house and pushing Brits to the back of the queue, I think is the most dunderheaded idea of the year.
Well, certainly, I think a lot of people are going to think it sounds incredibly unfair. The government would say it's only going to be a pilot scheme at the moment. There's 5 councils that have said they definitely want to do it: Brighton and Hove, Peterborough, Thanet, etc. The government's argument is that it's going to save money because rather than putting people in hotels or private rented accommodation, they can, yes, build council houses or refurbish them. But, of course, we've got 1.3 million British people waiting on social housing lists who I think many of them will feel that for someone to break into the country, having crossed from France, another safe country, and then go straight to the top of the list for dental treatment, NHS housing, is deeply unfair. And some of the comments have said this. But the problem is these people have got to go somewhere. And what the government need to do is stop the boats. But for all the smash the gang, stop the boats that we hear from this government and the last one, nothing seems to be working at the moment.
Nigel Nelson, on New Year's Eve, this has gone down like a firework, a rocket up the backside. Let's be absolutely honest. The notion that you can come to Britain on a dinghy and be given a free council house is... The political class are living on a different planet.
The political class have got to house these people somewhere, as Catherine's just said. And no one likes the hotels they were put in. No one likes the army bases that they're about to be transferred to. Anybody who lives anywhere near a migrant doesn't like it. When it comes down to people missing out on social housing because of this, they won't. The reason people have missed out on social housing is because of Margaret Thatcher's right to buy scheme. So last year, 8 times more social housing was sold than actually built.
Nigel, I think you're on the same planet as these councillors. Look, if you spend 100 million quid, suddenly that's been found from nowhere down the back of the sofa in Downing Street, I don't know, suddenly got 100 million quid to convert old housing or build brand spanking new housing, how is that not going to mean that Brits are at the back of the queue?
Well, because they were never in the queue for these houses.
Already in the queue.
And what you're doing here with 100 million is you're saving an awful lot of money. At the moment, we're having to pay private companies who make huge profits out of migrants by sticking them in hotels, by sticking them with private landlords. This would be a cheaper and better way to do it. At the end of the day, you've got to put them somewhere. And this is only a pilot. We'll see how it works. But this might be an answer to some of the other problems.
OK, let's bring in our next guest now. It's the political commentator, Benedict Spence. Benedict, in advance of New Year, a very, very happy New Year to you. Thanks for your contributions on the channel this year. You've been a magnificent guest as a regular on the channel. What planet are these politicians on?
Well, wherever it is, it's so far away that even Elon Musk isn't planning to get there anytime soon. It's a completely farcical situation. But of course, why should we expect it to be anything other than a farcical situation? We were promised by this government when it came in 18 months or so ago that they were going to have a more grown-up approach to doing things, that they were going to solve this problem. It was, of course, the headline issue that affected the Conservatives more than anything else, and Labour said that they'd get a grip on it. They have shown throughout that they don't really have much of an idea of how to do this. And the bizarre thing of all of this is if you start start putting people into housing that is needed for vulnerable people, especially council housing, it's actually a worse solution than the hotel situation. At the very least with the hotels, you had lots of people all in one place, but if you start putting them in council houses and you start dotting them here, there and everywhere all around the country, then you're not able to keep track of them in the same way as you were before. So not only are you taking the housing away from people who are already in this country and already need it, you're also putting migrants who potentially need to be kept check on in more disparate situations that you can't necessarily keep a track on. That's a bad idea, and all we have to say about this ultimately is that we are slowly stumbling towards a position where one day we will realize actually something more fundamental has to be done about the sheer numbers of people coming into the country. It is going to involve much harsher measures about deporting people, about how long they can stay here whilst their applications are processed. We will get to that point at some stage, but for the time being, our political elite are dragging their heels because they don't want to accept that that is the natural direction of travel.
OK, thank you for joining us, Benedict Spence. Honestly, our readers, our viewers and listeners are completely aghast at this notion. Let's get a quick bit of reaction in the studio from Nigel. No, we've had Nigel Nelson. Is my next guest ready to go? I'd like to join my next guest, and that's Claire Johnson-Wood, who's a Reform councillor on Powys County Council. Claire Johnson-Wood, thank you for joining us. The reason I was keen to get you on today, Claire, is because you're in one of the 5 areas that are on this pilot scheme, along with Brighton and Hove, Hackney, Peterborough and Thanet. They're all run by the Labour councils, and your area, Powys, is a Labour and Lib Dem control area. How are your voters telling you, how are you reacting to the fact that suddenly, out of nowhere in central Wales, they're going to build a whole stack of brand spanking new shiny houses and simply giving them away to asylum seekers?
Martin, can I just say thank you so much for having me on your show tonight? I really appreciate it. I agree with everything that you've just said. People are absolutely amazed how we've got a waiting list of nearly 4,000 people, 3,700 on our social housing list in Powys. These people have been waiting, some of them up to 1,000 days, nearly 3 years for housing. How would you feel if somebody just came in and was gone straight to the top of the list and given that house? People are dismayed with this. And, residents in my ward that I've spoken to just cannot believe what's happening.
And Claire, I'll put it to you. If you look at Glasgow has been inundated with asylum seekers. In fact, Glasgow is now the asylum seeker capital of Europe because the law in Glasgow says if you can prove that you're homeless or facing homelessness as an asylum seeker, you are automatically stuck straight to the top of the queue. I put it to you, Claire Johnson-Wood, not only is this a nightmare for your residents in terms of the existing asylum seekers, but people will flock from all over the country and turn up on your doorstep and demand a new house.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about our local people that are veterans, that are disabled, that have pensioners, veterans, British citizens that actually need this housing? And why should we give housing to people that have just come into this country straight away as abhorrent and offer them housing when they don't pay anything into the system, they haven't worked, they can't work, and they're just taking everything? And what about the infrastructure? Powys is a very, very rural county. We haven't got a general hospital in Powys. The schools are closing left, right and centre under the current cabinet in Powys. We haven't got, GP appointments, dentist appointments. How are we going to support that? We have not got the infrastructure.
Claire, was anybody in Powys consulted on this? Was anybody ever asked in the broader electorate? Was anybody given a voice, given a veto, given any vote or opportunity to do this? Or was it simply presented to you as a fait accompli by a virtue-signalling political class who just made their minds up, that's it, you're getting it, like it or lump it? It
came to cabinet and to council and it was debated. But it went through that Powys would, have an interest in doing this.
But it was never put to the people. It was never put to the electorate.
No.
Nobody's ever had a say in your wards or constituencies.
No. Correct me if I'm wrong, but no.
So what's happening here is a political class, polishing their halos. They decided it's a great thing to do. We're going to do this in your area in Paris. We're going to do it in Brighton. We're going to do it in Hackney, in Peterborough, in Thanet. And I put it to you that this should be the top thing on any political party's leaflets on their agenda. You've got elections coming in May, right? People in your area might have something to say about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, they have. I've had people contact me in my ward today and yesterday when this kind of story really broke. But another thing, it's again like the sanctuary of asylum.
Yeah.
With Wales being a sanctuary of asylum, the crux of it all is we've got to stop these people coming in. We need to look after our own. We need to house our veterans. We need to house our pensioners. We need to house our, young people that haven't got housing. We need to look after our own and just stop that. We've got to get to the bottom of the run of the ladder before we can start doing this. But it's absolutely ridiculous.
I'll tell you what, Claire Johnson Wood, if I'm a people smuggler now, I'm going to be making a new leaflet, a new video. Come to Paris. The Labour Authority
we'll give you
will give you a new house. Come to sunny Brighton. You'll get a new home. I mean, seriously, do you ever like stop and think to yourself, is this government looking after the citizens of Britain, or is it more actually putting the rights of those who are coming to the country illegally first?
I think it's all about the people that are coming into the country first. They're not looking at a UK government, and I know Wales is a devolved nation, but a UK government should be looking after their own people first. And a reformed UK government would put the people of Britain first.
OK, Claire Johnson, we'll be happy to leave it there. Thanks for joining us on New Year's Eve. Another time.
Thank you so much for having me, and Happy New Year to you all.
And to you, Diane. Take care. As a Reform Council there on Paris County Council. Nigel Nelson, quick reaction to you. You can see that the local councillors, they're spitting fans. And I put it to you that when this goes to the electorate in May, they're going to get a good hiding over this.
Well, I mean, these are people who are elected to make decisions, and they've made a decision. The problem, I think, with what Claire's just said, and in fact what you've just been saying, you've been complaining about what is actually going on, but nobody's coming up with a solution. What is the alternative?
Containment camps.
Well,
contain, process, deport. Well, it's very straightforward.
Well, it might be straightforward to you, but it's not straightforward within the law.
To our political class, who haven't got the balls to do it.
No,
that's the point.
It is practically dealing with migrants and what you do. We're in agreement that we must stop the boats coming across the channel. That's the priority. But in the meantime, we've got a lot of people in hotels. We've moved them into army camps where people are protesting, like in Crowborough. They've got to go somewhere. This is a cheaper option and probably better than lining the pockets of private companies.
I'll put it to you, it's going to be political kryptonite. It's going to be absolutely the most prominent thing on any political party's leaflets at those elections in May. Vote Labour and get a free house to asylum seeker. Vote Liberal Democrat, the same. And we know that the Green Party are open borders. It's going to be a huge, huge political story. I'm being told we have to move on. Nigel, superb. Catherine, superb.